And now it's 9:30, and here's Len Martin to tell the story of a famous father of a famous son.
I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. I don't know if she'll get away, she doesn't always get away, but anyhow I know that she'll try. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by.
Hello, this is the voice of Len Martin, and as many of you will probably know, that was the voice of George Formby. Now I wonder if you'll know who this is.
I'm a Boy Scout. When Egan Smith ran second in the Derby last July, I was standing at the corner of the street. A fella dressed in uniform could easily see that I was standing at the corner of the street. He treated me and told me that the country wanted men. In lifeguard's clothes he said I'd look a treat. He gave to me a shilling and I signed my name, and then I was standing at the corner of the street.
That was the famous father of a famous son, George Formby Senior, or George the First, if you like. And he really did stand on the corner of the street, a poor destitute lad, singing songs in order to survive.
And for standing at the corner of the street, they dressed me up with spurs upon my feet. They put me on a horse's back to teach me how to ride. When I fell off, the riding master came to me and cried, "However did you come to be a soldier?" I replied, "I was standing at the corner of the street."
Born James Booth in Ashton-under-Lyne, Lancashire, in 1877, he was the illegitimate son of a working-class woman whose liking for alcohol brought her over 100 convictions and several periods in prison, leaving the boy James to fend for himself. At the age of 7, he was completely homeless, with no relatives or charitable institutions to take him in. He wandered the streets singing for pennies, for which he bought food, and at night had to wait until the occupants of a house had gone to bed, and then sneak into the outside lavatory to spend a miserable night, perhaps dreaming of the time when he might become a real entertainer. And become one he did.
This is a song about my grandfather. And them that doesn't want to listen, get out at room, please, because it's only annoyance to me. Now then, lads. My grandfather's clock was a Waterbury watch. It could live 90 days without food, with a silk hat on its head and my father's Macintosh. It was dressed up like a Piccadilly dude. It was kept in the hall till the cupboard got too small, and we had no place the food for to stock. So the butter and the eggs and the little mutton legs, we kept them in my grandfather's clock. And the works of the clock through the butter melting in it sent the fingers flying round at 100 miles a minute. And Grandad with a sigh said, "I haven't time to die, so I'll put it off until the clock's repaired."
They don't write lyrics like that these days. A very individual version of My Grandfather's Clock, sung by the man who was to become one of the most prolific recording artists of his day. At the age of 12, young James Booth went to work in a Manchester iron foundry as a blacksmith striker. For 10 hours a day he breathed in toxic fumes, which, combined with the bronchitis he developed from his nights of sleeping rough, affected him for the rest of his life. He left the foundry and found work in a Yorkshire mill, still singing in the streets at night, snatches of songs he had picked up during his tender years, hanging around the entertainment halls and alehouses. Around 1891, he teamed up with another lad, and called the act the Glen Ray Brothers. Now he was working professionally, but he was still a long way from the twice-nightly music halls.
Understand, it's a song now. It seems a daring thing to dash upon the stage and twice nightly. Sometimes you run the risk of being kicked into the drum twice nightly. When first I joined the music halls a long, long time ago, I used to be an acrobat and only did one show. But now I'm sorry for myself, they make me work, you know, twice nightly. Twice nightly. Twice nightly. I'm a strong man, I can tell the way I'm built. But me pants are rather tight, and should I do the split tonight, then I'll sing the other verses in a kilt.
The act was managed for a time by a Mr. Brown, an unscrupulous character who paid the boys a pittance and travelled them from town to town, packed into theatrical baskets, so that he wouldn't have to pay their fares. When James's voice broke, the act broke up too, and he became a solo performer, singing and dancing and doing impressions of musical instruments. He was spotted by Danny Clark, who ran the famous Argyle Theatre in Birkenhead. Clark booked him for a week at a fee of £2 10 shillings. It was about this time James decided to change his name. Where he got the name Formby from is open to conjecture, but his daughter Mary has one idea.
I thought it was somewhere, and you know how you see the railways and the shunting cars and the goods trains, and he saw Formby. It didn't come from the town of Formby outside Liverpool, you know, it didn't come from that one, the outskirts of Liverpool. He saw Formby, it must have been, but he saw Formby, and I think that's how he took it. I don't know.
Having taken the name Formby from a passing railway wagon, he then had to select a Christian name to go with it, and George seemed to go very well. So, George Formby it was, and it wasn't long before he became a firm favourite of audiences throughout the North and Midlands. After a tour with Walford Bodie's Royal Magnet Variety Company, he played the halls as a solo act, eventually arriving in the town that was to mean so much in his future career, Wigan. It was there that he created something that was to be used as a prop for laughter by many other comedians following long after him. He once referred to a tiny wooden landing stage on the Manchester Ship Canal. It was opened in 1874 to be immortalised by Formby as Wigan Pier.
John Willie's ragtime band, when we play all the people faint away. Oh, oh, John Willie's ragtime band, what a mob when we're out upon the job. Hear us when we play on Wigan Pier. Mill girls flock around and give a cheer, and the colliers all shout by gum, here, here, mine's a beer, mine's a beer, mine's a beer. We dress just like the horse guard blue swagger togs and a pair of novice clogs. We've won gold cups and saucers too, no mistake. We're the lads to take the cake in Bolton. Now they know a lot with the cow wheel in the run. They can do the turkey trot when they hear John Willie's ragtime band.
I thought the band had gone home there for a minute. It was during a week's engagement at the Wigan Theatre that he met the girl who was to become his wife. Eliza Hoy was the daughter of a couple who kept theatrical digs, and George and Eliza were married in 1899, a few months after that first meeting. It was about this time that he was seen working by another George, George Roby, who booked him for a pantomime season and also recommended him to the big London managements. He was so proud of the place where he'd met his wife and where he'd decided to settle down that he billed himself as the lad from Wigan. The papers nicknamed him the Wigan Nightingale, a bizarre reference to his somewhat feeble, croaky voice, a voice created by the hacking cough he had inherited from his miserable childhood. The cough never left him, so he capitalised on it by making it a feature of his act.
I'm a little bit tight on chest tonight. Can't understand it, and I've only had one so far. I didn't hear him ask me a second time. I thought as much. Get ready now, lads. Second dose. One night up the street I was swanking about when a stylish young lady dashed by with a heavy portmanteau. She'd been for the coals. I could tell by the peace in her eyes. She said, will you carry this for me, Marie? Well, I'd carried parcels before, and she was good looking, so I took on the job, and I carried it home to her door. The door opened wide. She said, come inside, sit you down and I'll make you some tea. Are you fond of pastry? And I would have said yes, but the girl was a stranger to me. He was getting nearly a little bit late then, lads, with that last note, wasn't he? But I'll forgive you, it doesn't matter, I got words out all right.
One of George's greatest fans was a young Lancashire lass who was herself destined to become an international star, Gracie Fields.
I only had to see, and I was in stitches. And the audience were too. He was very, very funny. It was a sign of a simple funniness, but it stuck in your brain. And I think the theatres in those days were so quiet. People didn't cough in the theatre or keep shuffling about. The theatres were deadly quiet. And they had to be for a man like him, because he suffered with tuberculosis very badly. And he used to come on the stage himself, coughing better tonight. Don't you think so? He said, I believe you've had one of the acts on before I came on, called Edge's Mothers and Jacob's Sons. They were from America. They told me they got their teeth filled with gold. It's funny, it takes me all my time to fill them with meat.
And fill him with meat he did, for there wasn't only himself to support now. George and Eliza had 14 children, 7 of whom survived. Mary was one of them.
3 older than me and 3 younger. I'm the middle one. And I know one thing about it, that everyone that was born, my father took every one of us on the stage. As soon as we're able to, he said, well, this is the new edition, new edition, new edition. Kept on taking us all on in turn that way.
My name is John Willie, the youngest of 10. That's 5 of us girls, and that's 5 of us men. If Mother had liked, perhaps she might have had more, but far and away with the slavey next door, and the bells were ringing the old year out, and the new year in. And the bells were ringing. With them bells. Just ring them bells for me. No, don't do it. Don't do it, please. No, I don't like them. I'll have my own bell. 2 small whiskies. Now we found a cat. Its coat was the black. We had him 3 weeks, so we christened him Jack. 4 kittens we found. I thought something's amiss. We did call him Jack, but we now call him Sis. And the bells were ringing the whole year out, and the new year in. Young Jimmy Brown, with a straw for a joke, laughed as he tittled his grandfather's moke. He kept on teasing and thought it a treat, but the donkey created and kicked him on. The bells were ringing the old year out. That was very funny, was it? I don't think that was right, though. No, it wasn't right, no. It wasn't. The bells were ringing the old year out, but the donkey created and kicked him on. The bells were ringing the old year out, and the new year in. That's what it should have been.
There aren't many can ad-lib on records like that. He wore an ill-fitting jacket and concertina-like trousers, a cut-down bowler, boots worn on the wrong feet, and wielded a pre-chaplain cane. And he also created one of the very first catchphrases to sweep the country at the time. John Willie, come on. And like most comedians of that era, he had a special visual trademark. Whereas George Robey had thickly arched eyebrows, Dan Leno his red nose, Formby sported 2 black dots, one above each eye.
People used to say, what was that? And he used to close his eyes, and that was the idea of his makeup, to be eyes. He couldn't stand the strong light, so he used to close his eyes, and, you know, those used to be sort of effect of his eyes.
Since I've been in London, it's easy to see there's no other Johnny looks smarter than me. I'm going the pace, that means playing the game. I'm one of those gay dogs that's got a bad name. I'm what folks would call a daredevil, you know. No sooner an argument than it's a blow. I've seen better days, still I don't care a so. I've gone to the dogs and you know what it's through. Playing the game in the west, playing the game in the city, leading the life that tells, flirting with modern Kitty, strolling along the strand, knocking policemen about. And I'm not going home till 9:45, 'cause it's my night out.
1914 and the Great War. George volunteered his services, but he was turned down on medical grounds. So he plunged himself into charity shows for the wounded and appealed on stage for volunteers for Kitchener's Army. By now he'd graduated to revue, and in 1916 appeared in Albert de Courville's Razzle Dazzle Company in the West End. This was one of the songs from that show.
I'm George Lashwood now. Oh yes, I'm a real swell. I am and all. Round the west of London town I love to stroll about. And when I stroll about, I let 'em know I'm out. Down in some ice cream saloon I look to do the grand, sitting on the freezer with some ice cream in me hand. When I say we, they think that I'm a Swede. It's frightful how deceiving I can be. With me boots the latest cut and 2 stockings on 1 foot. Last night I didn't know that it was me. Did you see the crowd in Piccadilly? There were people in that crowd. There were 2 or 3 of the aristocracy standing on the tram lines to have a look at me. Did you hear 'em cry? It's little Willie, and he's looking quite all right. Did you see 9 policemen taking something to the station? That was me last night.
He was still cruelly affected by the cough, which audiences roared with laughter at, but which crippled him so much that he had to have oxygen ready in the wings. His daughter recalls how her mother always had to be on hand to minister to him.
Dad used to work like in what you call a front cloth. You see, what you call years ago. They didn't have a full stage like comics and loads of girls at the back. And the back cloth used to be there. And my mother always used to stand at the back and prompt him in case he forgot his lines, you see. And he used to lift always this cloth about. You there, Liza? So he'd just show her feet, you know, sort of thing. But she was always there with little ice and things like that for him. Because, you see, he had TB, he died of TB, as you know, consumption. But that is a mere detail nowadays, but they didn't have drugs then. But you see, he had it, and mother used to always be there so she could get him ice to stop the hemorrhage.
In spite of this, he continued to work at full pressure in order to support his family, and he found time also to make over 50 records. His gentle, almost intimate chat was a feature of his act, and he transferred it perfectly to the recording studio. George had no qualms about this strange new medium. He would ad-lib away, talking to the band or telling the listener in detail what was going on, sometimes right up to the final groove.
Just a minute, boys. Let's clear out before we start. That was a good cough. That's the best cough I've done this year. That Zambuck does do you good. I'll cough anybody here for 5 shillings, and I'll give them 5 cough stops to start with. Nobody accept my challenge? Right, go on, start music. Play soft for me, then they can hear what I'm doing. I might dance yet, and I might not. Of course, I can please myself. I'll just tell you while I'm here. No use keeping you waiting. Nowadays a man's got to be clever. You can't get along without brains. It's the wide uns that gets all the money, and the mugs that gets left for the pain. Still it isn't my fault that I'm clever, though I've oft heard it said London's slow. When I got to London, a chap said to me, "Are you looking for rooms?" I said, "No. I'm looking for mugs in the Strand. I'll find one before I've gone far. It's as easy as winking to find them. That's if you just know where they are. I'll defy Scotland Yard men to catch me. I've got ways they don't understand. 'Cause while the detectives are looking for me, I'll be looking for mugs in the Strand." They're playing chorus now a second time, and I've not asked them. They're very willing, lads. Very willing. Of course, they wouldn't be as willing, you know, if they didn't get paid for it. There's one little fella here, behind me. He's playing trombone. I wish you could see him. He's got one half of it in his mouth, and the other half in his ear hole. Mugs in the Strand. I just got on that last note then. It wasn't much, but still it showed me off like in my voice, didn't it? Well, I think that's about all now.
Apart from his jokes with the orchestra and his "I'll cough you for a shilling" challenges, he also used to delay his entrance onto the stage, often making the orchestra stop playing, and his diminutive cry of "I'm ready" from the wings caused howls of laughter.
I'm ready. I'm here now. It's been a grand day today, hasn't it? Yes, it has. And it'll be a grand day tomorrow if it keeps like this. I don't think we shall have any snow this summer, shall we? Get ready now. It's years and years and years and years since last I had a fight. An argument arose on politics the other night. When I told the fella he was wrong, he gave me such a punch. Right in the very regions where I always keep my lunch. But I had me hand in my pocket at the time. Yes, I had me hand in my pocket at the time. there's not the slightest doubt I ought to knocked him out, but I had me hand in my pocket at the time.
His health had now got steadily worse. The cough that caused so much hilarity was eventually to get the better of him, even though Eliza was constantly at his side to nurse him. In 1921, while appearing in pantomime at the Empire Theatre in Newcastle-on-Tyne, he collapsed. The violent coughing burst some blood vessels, and Eliza rushed him home to Warrington. But despite urgent medical attention, he died at 8:30 in the morning, Shrove Tuesday. He was 44. He was given a public funeral and was buried in the Catholic cemetery in Warrington. He left Eliza with 4 daughters and 3 sons. George Jr., who was to become as famous as his father, never saw the act. His father didn't want any of his family to follow in his footsteps. He always said, "One fool in the family is enough." But the gormless John Willie, the lad from Wigan, wasn't so daft as he made out. He'd started with nothing but his talent, and ended up as one of this country's biggest stars, with £21,000 in the bank.
But I'm not quite so daft as I look. I'm not quite so daft as I look. A woman looked at me and started to sing. I am the bee, and you I shall sting. So I said, go away, you're a cheeky fast thing. I'm not quite so daft as I look. Have we finished now? I'm just talking now, just to waste time while this record's going through now, because I've got no else to say at all. Is that right, champion? I'm going. I'm gone.
Len Martin researched and introduced that programme on George Formby Senior, which included the voices of Mary Anderson and Gracie Fields. The producer was Michael Ford.